Okay, everybody, welcome back. It is March something, 6th. Welcome to March 6th, Aligning with Confusion. Just kidding.
Did you have any of that homemade Hungarian whiskey or whatever?
Aligning with success. Yeah, I had a really great time in Atlanta. It was great to reconnect with some of the folks out there that I hadn't seen in a long time, and I hadn't been in that city for, oh my God, at least a decade, if not more. So great to be out there. I met Laurie was out there. We got to hang out. She was yes, it was awesome. I was able to do my a couple of presentations. One of which was actually posted on Facebook. So I'm not sure if you've had a chance, but if you're wondering, that Law of Attraction presentation that I do was actually Facebook Lived, if there's such a word, on Friday. And Molly Simpson was the one who was posting it Facebook Live. And I went ahead and reposted it on my Facebook page. So there is a recorded version of it. It's actually both presentations, the Nikken Choice and the Law of Attraction. So if you're curious about what it is that I present when I present either of those, those presentations are there for you to be able to retrieve and review. And I didn't really have a limit on my time going through the Law of Attraction, so I probably took some liberties there in terms of time. But it was a good presentation, and from my perspective, given the number of times I've done that presentation, I feel it has a lot of relevant and good content. Anyway, so that's just an FYI, should you wish to review it. I can promise you this, if it will present ideas that, well, I mean, Gary Bolton was watching it live, and he sent me a private text message afterwards, and he was really thrilled with the presentation. He went out of his way to tell me that. So I think it was a good presentation, all in it. Last week, we talked about urgency. All kinds of conversations came up, from PACs to I think the thing that I really wanted to touch on was the connection that you had with your personal goal, with your goals, and making it personal, an emotional connection to your goal. I also wanted to ask everybody to take. Well, let me just see what I got here. I got also, ask the question: how does it feel not to have your goals achieved? So that you can see whether or not that goal actually has any meaning for you. If you're not reacting emotionally, then it's probably not the right goal for you. You may need to reframe it. So an example I think I used was, the consequence of your goal might be the achievement of your rank, or the achievement of your income, or the achievement of one of the Nikken incentives. That could be the consequence of the goal. But the goal has to be something personal, meaningful, connected to you on an emotional level, for it to drive you, to fund you, to provide you the energy that you need. I'm getting some feedback. I think, Madeline, it might be you. Give me a second. I'm going to mute you. It is you. So your speakers are coming. Your sound is coming through your speakers. You've got to have your earphones on to prevent that from happening. And I'll give an example of what, for me personally, what gives me the energy to wake up at 3:30 in the morning to catch a flight on the way home. That was Sunday, and to go through till about 1 o'clock in the morning that day. So I practically spent 24 hours awake. What gives me the energy that funds me is the connection that I have to the purpose, not what I have to do. I'm not so concerned about what I have to do. I just do what I have to do, and I get the energy to do it, given my connection to the purpose, what's driving me on a deeper emotional level. And I think that's what you'll find is true for you as you get closer and closer to the bullseye of what it is that you're doing here in Nikken. What is really the reason, the motive for being involved here, and that will give you the energy, the funding, and the connection. Then from that comes the dialogue, comes the way you communicate on all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, the words you use, all those things emanate from you when you're connected to the you that's seeking to emerge as a result of this exercise called Nikken. So I know that obviously money is a factor in why we're doing this, but money for what? What's the emotion? What's the connection on an emotional level? Is it the sense of freedom? Is it the sense of, for me, it's freedom, by the way. That's a real big deal for me. Personal freedom to be able to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, have that flexibility of time, etc. So I'm willing to do the hard stuff for short periods of time, windows of time, so I can have that liberty when I want it, which is most of the time. So that's how I can connect to it, because I don't mind, 3 months of full on. Why? I've enjoyed 25 years of residual income with this business. So what's 3 months? That's not a lot. What's 6 months? That's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, especially if I'm looking forward for another 10, 15, or 20 years, then it's really not a lot. So I'm connected that way to why I can do the work and make it a focus. Let's see, talked about some activity with respect to names on adding at least one name per day on your list, and doing 3 to 5 one-on-ones per week. In terms of the activity commitment, making sure that that's happening. Say no first. I think we talked about that. In other words, sometimes it's a lot more fun to tell a prospect, maybe this is really not for you. And if you haven't done that yet, do it. Just find a reason to do it, find an opportunity to do it, and do it. You need to experience the euphoria, the whatever it is that you get as a result of being able to say, you know what, I can say no. I'm not desperate. I don't absolutely need the situation. I can create more. And it's sort of a plug for and an affirmation for abundance. That if you're connected to abundance, then you know more is coming. So you don't have to be too picky. So having said all that, let's ask you if in this past week, any of you have had any breakthroughs where some of this is concerned, where urgency is concerned, where languaging has come out of you that was a little unusual, maybe more fitting to the sense of urgency. Have you seen something change in your behavior, in your outlook, in your way of approaching the situation? Anyone?
I am.
Yes, Carol, please share.
Well, having to fill out the flyer for the 26th and trying to get things done. I talked with some different people, and one person, they actually said they didn't think I should put the law of attraction. I had kind of switched that. They said, I don't think you should do that because I don't, they didn't think the people I would be wanting to come to the thing would know what that is. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that's true because of the people that I'm asking, but I trusted their judgment. But then, okay, what do I put on my name, right? I mean, as who I am. So, I'm a pastor, and I'm thinking of all these cozy words or and I didn't want to do like, money, or anything. And they basically said, like my thing, feeling vibrant today. Well, so to add body, mind, and finances to my presentation, I said, what? I can't. And they just challenged me, and they said, okay, for my bio, they said, well, minister, wellness consultant, and they said, no, wellness coach, finance coach. And I said, what? I'm not ready to say I'm a finance coach. anyway, they really challenged me, and they said, you know what, you just need to put that down there, you know, because that's what you want. I mean, if you're going to be doing the business, you're going to be coaching people, and you need to just go ahead and do that. And I mean, it was like total tear. And they gave me stories about how they had stepped up before they were ready. But even while he was talking, I realized that was very critical, you know, that I have to do that. And it did completely change my energy and my whole, you know, like you said, I have the energy now, you know, to go and really do that. So I talked to someone else, you know, just dialogue. And so I put business coach instead of finance coach, but I put those three things down. And so it is like, okay, what my goal is, to claim it now, you know, to say, this is who I am. Like, instead of like, okay, if I'm going for gold, to say I am gold, but even beyond that, to say I am royal ambassador, you know, to have that out there, that's who I am now. And so it was an experiential thing that was really great.
Let me ask you something, because this is really, really critical, because what you are now doing is you're demonstrating the application of the law in practical and real terms. So I'm going to reflect on this, and I'm going to talk about this because it's super, super, super critical what you just identified. Which I refer to as the law of assumption. So you stepped into the shoes and into the role of that individual, you've characterized it, and you've put it out there now publicly. So now I want to ask you, how have you seen your language or your energy or your attitude shift when you communicate with others now? What do you sense is different?
I have strength. I have confidence, I have urgency, I have confidence, because, you know, now, because one thing they said to me was, you know, once you put that out there, as he said, Eric Worre says, make the commitment or the decision, tell the world, and then figure it out. So, so now, that I've actually, you know, people that I've been kind of afraid to, you know, because they're not into MLM, and they've been real clear with, you know, I didn't bring it up, but I will be able to say, this is who I am, and this is where I'm going, and with a confidence that isn't going to invite
criticism,
telling me to shut down.
Right.
And you know, because they'll know I'm going for it, and you know that they just better not.
In other words, your identity is not based on their opinion. Would you say that's okay?
Yes.
This
and
is
what you said last week too. You said that you said, what was it? I mean, something you said last week started this whole thing triggering in me.
Actually, Mike, if I can edify Carol, she's called me several times over the past several months, and on one of the discussions, it was right after last week when I said, Carol, I saw in you, and I don't remember exactly what it was either. And from that night, the aha she had last week, all the phone conversations have been different. You know, I could hear it too. And she interrupted me with assertiveness. And we've had really a couple of very good conversations. And so then I called her back about how much she was able to help me with this new Carol. And so it was really very profound.
And
so go ahead.
The other thing that this person said to me was, you know what, Carol, I understand the terror, and you know, but you have to prepare so that you're going to be able to present that. And even if you fall flat on your face, and even if you make a total fool of yourself, you still will be 100% ahead because you have done that, you know. And so I'm claiming that, and it's great.
Mike?
Yes.
This is Phil Hansen calling.
Hey, Phil.
And, or talking. And I've got a real big dilemma here in my hometown. I have quite a reputation as far as activity and all of those kinds of things. I'm 77, and I had that stroke a year and about 6 months ago. And since that time, I've recovered and had some setbacks and had this and had that and the other. And the thing with Nikan, I have seen so much help physically with the products that, I want to, and I try to share that with people, and they just kind of turn it down. And one of the biggest things was when I was in Council, one of the people there said, the area, and I live here in Minnesota, he said the area is just not culturally ready for Nikan.
My answer to that question is, or my answer to that comment is, that's a load of malarkey. Okay? You are creating your reality. Nobody else is creating your reality except you, unless you entertain their idea. So you're either building your reality or you're building their reality. And it's just as plain as black and white. There is no mistaking this.
So it's my reality.
Absolutely. You've got to be careful what you entertain as thoughts and ideas, because what you entertain as thoughts and ideas become the reality. I'll give you the example in the simplest of terms. If I say to you, go outside and count all the red cars and come back after half an hour, you're going to give me a count pretty accurate of how many red cars drove by your corner. If I turn around then and say, now tell me how many of them were blue, you won't have a clue. And yet there were blue, white, black, gray, whatever. So what you entertain, what you hold in your mind is what allows you to see what you see. It creates the reality or the possibility that you have access to. Even though there's a myriad of other possibilities, you won't see them, you won't recognize them, you won't draw them in. So if you believe the products are too expensive, you won't find anybody to buy them. If you believe this is not the right time for that particular part of the world, then that's what your subconscious mind is going to present to you, evidence of that. Yeah. So you've got to decide what you want evidence of. And this is where you have to set up the expectation for what you want to experience, because then you will be presented the evidence of this. And so no different than what we just heard with Carol. She made an assumption about who she is as a person, out of character from the person she has been. But then again, the person she has been is arbitrary as well. She just bought into that character for however long she has, for whatever reason she has. But this is now a new adaptation of Carol. And so as a result of that, putting on that cloak, she's now experiencing the mindset of that person. And that person is now speaking through her. And so she's now getting the effects of what that person would have as effects, because the words she's using, the way she's using them, have a different impact on the people she's talking with. That produces subsequently a different result. And so now the results that she's experiencing are going to be a reflection of the person she's entertaining and hosting within her consciousness. So be very, very careful and very, very lucid about what you're hosting in your mind, because you will find evidence of this in your life. It will be presented to you, and it's just as arbitrary as the evidence to the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. So this is really what the law of attraction is all about. It's about hosting a reality within your consciousness that will soon become the reality you experience as the outside world, as a projection of that. So, and all we'd have to get is just really good at it. We just have to get as committed to creating our perception of ourselves, as good as we have been at adopting other people's perception of ourselves. Because essentially, if you think about it, when we're born, we don't have a sense of self. We're born into a family and a culture and an experience, very, very well-defined experience that we adopt. And we adopt that experience because we have a desire to fit in. And we don't challenge it. We don't question it. We just simply put it on. And then that becomes who we see ourselves as. And sometimes we wear that pridefully. I'm this and I am that. And you actually wear it pridefully, which reinforces the condition within your consciousness. And it's not right or wrong. It's just simply who you are presenting yourself as and who the world is mirroring back to you. And so if you've had enough of that, if you've just gotten to a place in your life where you think, I've had enough of that. It's maybe it was who I was or who I was pretending to be or who I was playing myself as, but I'm ready for the next phase in my life. I'm ready to adopt this new mentality. And as far as money goes, for instance, we have a lot of prejudices, a lot of conditions around money. Money is a very, very sensitive issue. And so the results that you're having in your Nikken business are simply a mirror of your conditions around money. Because if you had abundance thinking, abundance mentality, if money and cash flow was imagined in your mind in greater abundance, then the Nikken business would be mirroring that. You'd be attracting people who were drawn to you because instead of, rejecting Nikken, they'd be embracing Nikken. So we really have to work on who we think we are mentally and emotionally, which is why when we connect to a goal, which I started with last week, when we connect to a goal, even if it's a financial goal, we've got to get into the deeper, it's got to be more deep than that, more meaningful than just, I want $5,000 a month or I want $10,000 a month. So what? I mean, that's just wishful thinking. Tell me why you got to have that. Tell me why that is who you are. Tell me why you are worth that. Tell me why you are worthy of that. That's the kind of thing that you should be able to stand up in front of people and say. And by the way, connecting to that is what Dave Johnson often said. I'm sure you've heard him say, given what we know about the Nikken products, we have an outright obligation to become wealthy in Nikken.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great one.
So let's stick with that. That's a good one. That makes perfect sense to me. I know that people benefit from these products tremendously. And I know the more we have benefiting from these products, the more we have done to influence that possibility, the greater we're going to be rewarded financially, because that's simply a reflection of the impact that we've had. So connect money and impact. If you associate those two together really, really strongly in your mind and in your heart, that impact and money in Nikken are correlated. You don't make a lot of money in Nikken and not have made impact. That just doesn't work. That's not how our compensation plan's modeled. So unlike maybe the industrial age, maybe unlike the corporate environment where nepotism, favoritism, and who you screw over determines how much money you make, that's not the condition in Nikken. It's a much more pure, holistic, and spiritually aligned way of earning income. And so abundance is really, and success financially is really a function of how you've contributed to the lives of others. And so what should drive you to talk to people in spite of their ignorance, in spite of what they might say to the contrary, is I'm here to serve, and I found the best way I know how to serve.
Oh, that's a good statement. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another two things that I have been struggling with lately has been the fact that I'm not very good on a computer. And what I have just learned today, getting on the Royal Alliance, has been really good because the schedule is right there and it's boom, I can get there. If I go on all these others, there's so many things that are flipping around and I'm not that good at it. So that's been a real problem. And the other thing is, if I seemingly ask for help on that, I don't get any from locally here. But I can take that statement and let me just say that again, that I need the money. There's no question about that. That's a given for me in my own situation. the money is going to be very, very good. But I have recognized the potency of the Niken products for 22 years. And that's the message that I have a hard time conveying to people is, and what you just said. Say that one more time for me.
I am here to serve, and I have found the best way to serve.
I am here to serve, and I have found the best way.
And the other thing is, Phil, you can say, I've got 22 years of history with these products. Do you think your opinion really matters?
Yeah, that's a good one, too.
I mean, it's just to get you into that space, into that headspace that makes you completely bulletproof and not susceptible. There's a saying called SNIOP, being susceptible to the negative influences of other people. You do not want to be a SNIOP. You do not want to be susceptible to the negative influences of other people, because most people who speak about that in that way are simply being, by definition, ignorant.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Prejudice prior to investigation is, by definition, ignorance. So why entertain ignorance? I shut it down. I just say, I'm sorry, but you've got an opinion, but really, what's that opinion based on?
Yeah, that's good.
At least I got 22 years experience with this. What do you got?
Mm-hmm.
Just an opinion. Whoa, big deal. That's like a toilet seat. Everybody's got one of those.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much, Mike.
You're welcome. Anyone else have an aha moment this week that you want to share?
I have two, but since I see Eunice on there, I'm going to start with that one. I went into her home on Friday night and had a little planning session with Christine and Eunice for a booth with 2,000 people on Saturday. It was wild. And there was this big turnaround with Christine and Eunice. Eunice picked up that 200-pound phone last night. We did our follow-up meeting last night. And Christine was a speaker for 2 Thursday evenings in a row, and now the second Sunday with Michelle. Michelle Kowalczyk is really clipping along here, So she was an A for her. And the edification that came from others around that, she just lit up like a light bulb. I've been hoping that she'd come out here before I said this. And so today was her day off. I've had 3 calls from her. Eunice has had calls. She's written those goals. Actually, Eunice called me, Madeline, you have to hear this. She was reading to me everything that she had written down. So that was the switch with her. So it was a lot of fun. Absolutely a lot of fun. And the other third person, there was another new person that I'm working with, was not comfortable with really presenting both. We have you coming in, we're talking about what's all going on here. And so it was an exhausting day, but a very good learning.
Excellent. Lost you for a second there, Madeline. Your sound just disappeared on us. Okay, while you're fixing that, thank you for that. Does anyone else want to share? Suzanne, I saw your hand go up.
Well, I can certainly say that, knowing Carol for quite a few many years, I want her to come back, but I have seen a shift in her, and really a lot right now. And to just, have that posture, that shift in the posture. And I had something happen. I had a friend of mine who mentioned this book that, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I've heard about this book for a long time. And then once he said to me, have you read this book? I said, no, but I went to the library and got this book.
Oh, I think I have it on my desk, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. And so the word, not taking things personally, these things are things that you've just discussed, Mike, and it's just wrapped in a little different way. But I've shared this with so many people this week, and just, stepping back and thinking about things that are coming out of my mouth, and I've felt some slight shifts just by starting this book.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's another great point, by the way. Some of you are already members of Core Consultant, which you can become by going to magneticleaders.com, and then just become add to your register to be a core consultant. And that means you're going to get an email at least once a week with just what's going on, some good stuff. This is basic stuff for everybody in NECAN. It's sort of plugging in. We want you plugged in. So this is sort of an information highway on another level, put together by Dave Johnson, Ben Woodward, to keep you plugged in, so to speak. And one of the things that's recommended by being a core consultant is reading. And I have to tell you, if you see around me, and sometimes I read 3-4 books at the same time. That's usually actually. But I never read. I never used to read except for books in university to pass my courses. When I got involved in this business, I started reading regularly and almost religiously, and made my car my new university. I used to listen to audios and so forth on my drives. That's how I was able to invest time in catching up. So if you're looking to catch up on some of these calls and so forth, do it when you're driving. Just get your earphones on and turn your phone on and go to the YouTube thing. And you don't have to watch the video because there's usually not much except us talking, but to listen to that conversation is invaluable. And so reading, finding some things to read. There's a few books that I think they recommend on Core Consultant. The one that Suzanne just held up, The Four Agreements by Luis Miguel Ruiz, is that's kind of like one of those you have to read books. Like that's got to be one of the books you read, because it's so fundamental to the right way of thinking. And because our life is comprised of the momentum of our thoughts. And by the way, when you watch Don Miguel Ruiz, thank you. Don Miguel Ruiz is The Four Agreements. Phenomenal book. And one of the agreements that I love the best in that one is do the best you can, because then you'll never have to look in the mirror and feel embarrassed or ashamed. You'll never put yourself down because you didn't do the best you could. It's not about whether you got the results. It's whether you put the best foot forward. As long as you know you're doing the best you can, that means you can be proud of who you are. And your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth has everything to do with how much money you make, folks. Your ability to draw into you and attract to you has everything to do with your sense of self-worth, which is totally connected to how you perceive yourself. Over the years, whether you've been embarrassed or ashamed or stepping out, I'm afraid to call somebody because what if it goes wrong? Well, it's not going to go anyway if you don't call. And then there is no wrong if you realize that making that call is a learning opportunity as well as a possibility that that person might actually get it. So you're always moving forward if you're taking the right action. And so taking the right action means act in alignment with what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and make sure that what you're thinking, what you're feeling is in alignment with your objectives. Then there is no wrong action. There's simply the action and the consequence. Action and consequence. And you adapt to the consequence again with the right thinking and the right feeling. If the right thinking and the right feeling is in alignment with your objective, you'll always know what to say and what to do. If your thinking and feeling are in alignment with your objectives. Again, that comes back then to what are your objectives, and are they really deep and meaningful? Because I'm telling you what I know, and I swear to who you are to the rest of the world and the people you're talking with and the people you contact to invite to these events and to your house and into this opportunity, how they are going to perceive you is literally a function of the wavelength you're on, the frequency you're on, the vibration you're in. And that is entirely a function of how you see yourself and whether that's in alignment with your goals and objectives.
Yes.
So it's just to get really clear about that and be in alignment.
That's something that I've believed, and I've taken in the reading, I've taken in the lessons, but the precipitating catalyst is when, you know, I'm actually have a mentor and a coach. I wish I could remember exactly what you said last week, but it was similar to that. You know, it's like, I've heard make a commitment and then it works, but when I actually had to put it on that poster or whatever, and you know, that I'm actually going to say it, and I had someone just like really challenge me. I mean, really just directly challenge me. It's like it touched something inside that just ignited. It's like I was nurturing it all this time. It's like I was getting the lessons and listening, and I'm thinking, yeah, I believe that. But it wasn't until I just actually had to do that, you know, or
yeah,
I mean,
when you turn the
no, I'm not going to do that. But I knew, but it's like it touched me right where I knew if I didn't do it, forget it. Why even bother? That, I mean, it was like
it was the action. You needed to take the action step. You know, I remember way back in the day when I would think in my mind in a situation on the spot, what would Bob Proctor do? Or what would Bob Proctor say? I swear to you, this would go through my mind in a flash. And then I would just do or say what I thought he would do or say in that situation. And you know what I found? I got the exact same reaction that he'd have gotten.
yeah,
People responded the same way. So I just learned that it just really the energy behind what you're doing or what you're saying. So I mean, I never saw myself as him, but for that moment in time, I channeled him. For that split second, I was him and communicated that thought or that idea, and boom, wow, had the same impact. And it felt really good flowing through me, saying it, because it was out of character for me to do that, but it was in character with the person I was seeking to be.
yeah, that's it.
See, that's the key. If you can align that, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions with the person you are seeking to be, then you're going to see all of the stuff shift in and around you, through you. Okay, so we have next week, the weekend after, by the way, I'm going to be in 3 cities.
Oh.
So if you've got contacts, get them out to these cities. I'm looking forward to meeting people. Let's see. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh with Elaine Matthews. Elaine, are you on the phone? Where are you? There you are. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh. Then I'm going to be in New York, New Jersey with Tina Davidson. Then I'm going to be over in Philadelphia, and with my mind has just gone blank. Help me out here, Randy
Rolfe.
Thank you. Randy Rolfe is hosting me in Philadelphia. So those are 3 dates. Then I'm going to be, this week, I'm going to be online with Cheryl. We're doing an event on the 8th, I believe it is. If you haven't seen that flyer, that's up as well. So we're going to do a presentation via the internet online on the 8th. She's going to be hosting it in a public library. So it's going to be live on her end, beamed in on my end. Love those kind of presentations. Then the following week, I'm going to be doing that, beaming into Winnipeg on the 22nd. Dauphin, Manitoba, the 22nd, 23rd, Winnipeg, 25th, Chicago, flying out to Chicago, hanging out with you guys out there, and the 26th with Carol in Milwaukee. So I got my agenda set and my activities set as far as events that I'm attending. I just want to remind you that this business works with people being introduced, new people. And I know that momentum is definitely well afoot. If you haven't already made your plans for Orlando, please do that. Again, same thing. Be the person. Step into the role. Step into the shoes. Don't second guess yourself. Miracles happen when you make decisions. The whole universe conspires around that decision. That's just the way it works. And I'm glad that that's the way it works, because if it didn't work any other way, I'd feel like a victim. I'd be like, I'd be a victim to circumstance all my life. That would be a lousy life.
That's right.
So happy to see happy faces. Stan, great to see you. See you soon in the upcoming events. Okay, folks, I'm going to shut this event down so I can record or pass this on. And thanks for your contributions, everybody. You guys are really doing a great job. And really, not only, I can tell you what's happening. You are growing yourselves. And I promise you, the consequence will be all the things that you're looking for. Your business will be a reflection of it. It's a mirror of it, because we are in the people business. And when you grow yourself as a person, you're going to attract more people. People want who you're becoming. They want to be like that. So that's that. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.